All right. I'm going to start. Before we start, I want to just say, a lot of times in our own lives, you're going to ask yourself why. It's not working, doesn't look like there's appreciation, and you have to remember the ultimate reason is you have to do the right thing. Everything else is secondary. We have to steadfast and continue doing what we were supposed to do. Everything else after that will happen. It's going to be all extra. But it starts from doing what you have to do and not to quit. If I was that way, first day of the job teaching, say, you know what? These kids don't look like they have a future anyway. It's over. Let's go. Who's listening anyway, right? No. You just do what you have to do and it'll happen. And we learned this from many places. Primarily, we see Rabbi Akiva and that rock where the water kept going, and it made a hole there. And you see that little by little, eventually it'll seep in and it'll turn into something amazing. And that's how we will continue our lives. That's how I keep it going. So I want to give a bracha to everyone involved for helping the shir happen. Hashem should give you koach to continue doing the right thing, and with that, we'll see amazing things. And then we'll begin. Okay. So when I was preparing, I was very much wondering which parsha to do, because we have something amazing information in Parshat Hukat, at the end of Hukat, which I think is super important about the gift of Torah, the learning of Torah, and all of it, and the secret of the learning of Torah, what it really does. And I had goosebumps when we were eating here, and I had goosebumps because I heard someone say something, and I said, oh my gosh, Zera Shimshon, for sure you'll get that. But any Torah you're learning, you're going to get as well. Zera Shimshon gives you more, because the guy had a haftacha. But learning Torah, we'll see. We're going to get to that. So first thing I want to start with the Gemara. We're going to do Parshat Balak, a little bit of Balak, and then we're going to take it in. So I'm going to begin with a Gemara. Seemingly, the Gemara there's no connection from the Gemara before to the Gemara after, but we're going to see there is a connection. And the Zera Shimshon, that entire piece of Gemara, is the entire Zera Shimshon Derasha Aleph. It's amazing. And we'll look at the Gemara, and then we're going to do the Zera Shimshon. It's going to be an amazing piece. So, the Gemara begins, is a Gemara in Berachot. The Gemara in Berachot, and it's on Daf Zayin Amud Aleph. The Gemara says, where I was talking about what should a person do. The Gemara first talked about a person getting a bracha. We'll start from there. The Gemara asks, what does Hashem daven? What does Hashem pray? My matzle, what does Hashem pray? Amar Rav Zucher Bar Tuvia, Amar Rav, I'll tell you what he prays. Et Ratzon, may it be the will, Et Ratzon milifanai, my will, sheyechebeshu rachamai, that my mercy should take over, ka'asai, my anger. V'yegolu rachamai al midotai, and my rachamim should take over and overcome my attributes, because we know Hashem goes midah keneged midah. Let the rachamim side take over. Ve'etnaheg im banai b'midat rachamim, and I should be with my children with the attribute of mercy. Ve'ikanes lahem lifnei mishurat hadim, and I should do more than the letter of the law. If they did X amount, I want to do much more for them. We know that in the Sifrei Musar, you open for me a little hole of the needle, and I'll open to you an entire palace, an entire ulam. That's what it says. And then the Gemara cites almost something very identical. Amar Rav Yishmael ben Elisha, Pam echad nechnasti. At one time, it was a Kohen Gadol, I went in to do the Ketoret inside the Holy of Holies, and Re'iti, I saw, and the Gemara brings a malach's name, Akartiel, we're not sure, because he also then writes Yud Kei, Hashem's name, Tzavakot. So there's a machlok in the Mefarshim, if we're talking about Hashem, Or are we talking about the Malach? But most Mefarshim here will say it's Hashem. Okay, what about it? And we saw Shehu Yoshev Al Kisei Ram V'Nisa, that he's sitting on his throne, and he says, "Amar li Yishmael Banim, Yishmael my son, Barecheni, bless me." Hashem saying to Yishmael, his son Yishmael the Kohen Gadol, bless me. Amarti lo, I said to him, Yitzon lefanecha, Shich b'shur hachamecha et kasecha, may your mercy take over your anger. V'yigalu hachamecha amidatecha, same words, and that your mercy should take over your midah of doing midah keneged midah. In banecha, you should be with your children in midat rachamim. But to kanes lahem lifnei meradim, and do more than what they did. They do a little bit, do extra for them. And what did he say here? V'ni anali, and he answered me back. Hashem answered back to Kohen Gadol like this, by shaking his head as approval. What do we see here? We see here that a person can give a beracha. Not only can a person give a beracha even to something like Hashem. And you don't take the beracha like it's nothing. You accept it. How does a person give a beracha? How do you do it? Because why we bring this up? Because we have a story in our Parshat where Balak calls Bilam and tells him, dude, I have these neighbors and they're a problem. They're going to eat us up like you're going to do the mowing of the lawn. They would mow the lawn, the machine eats it all up and licks it all away. That's what they're going to do to us. Do us a favor, come. And what did he answer? He said, when he summoned, because I know, he said, Balak said, Asher mivarechecha mivorach, those that you bless will be blessed, and those that you curse will be cursed. You want to curse the guy, why are you telling him those that you'll bless? And is it even possible for him to bless? Because we have a Zohar, and this is brought down in the beginning of Parshat Bamidbar. So those who have this Sefer HaZohar, says here, in Perush HaSulam, with the Sulams, Sulam means ladder, but it's a name of a commentary. What does it do? It translates from the Aramaic into the Hebrew most of the words. Now, the original Zohar went like Gemara with page numbers, but because they have now the translation here, it became like an art scroll. So all the page numbers are actually at the bottom in parentheses. So you will learn a sefer, and it'll say Bamidbar Kuf Yud Zayin 117 Amud Bet, second side. You're not going to find it here. This is page Dalet. But if you look at the bottom, it's going to say Kuf Yud Zayin Amud Bet. So you're able to find it. You have to look at the bottom for the page numbers. Now here, Ot Yud Aleph, in the introduction to Bamidbar, he writes, the Zohar writes, Bore, Tachazi, come and take a look. Hai man da'avar shavacha dechavre. When one person says praises of his friend, about his children or about his money, you have to bless him. And you have to thank him for those blessings. Where it was from? In Moshe. Because over there it says, Hashem said, first Moshe said, and after that it says Hashem first says, Hashem's going to place you like the stars. And then Moshe answers a thank you to him by blessing. Two berachot happened there. One was Hashem said, and then after that, he went ahead and said it. And then comes Ot Yud Bet. Who is a person that could give a beracha? Why? How do you give a beracha? Tzarich levarecho be'en tova. You have to give, who gives a beracha? Someone who has a good eye. We'll see what that means in a second. Velo be'en ra'ah, and not with an evil eye. Who had an evil eye in our parasha this week? Bilam. צריך לברכו באין טובה ולא באין רע. בכל דבר רוצה הקדוש ברוך הוא אהבת לב. You have to have love in your heart at the time that you're blessing. ומה מי שמברך חברו, just like if you bless your friend, רוצה הקדוש ברוך הוא שברכו באין טוב, Hashem wants you to bless him with a good heart and good eye. Whoever blesses Hashem should surely have a good eye and a good feel and a good heart. That means praying to Hashem, you have to come and tell him how much you love him. This is the meaning of Ahavta et Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavecha b'chol nafshecha b'chol me'odecha. How can you bless when you're going to be happy with what you have, with your soul, with your money, and all your might? By being happy with what you have. As we'll see at the end, we're going to talk about Torah, and we're going to bring back those words of be happy with what you have. We're going to see inside here. Now comes the question. If the Beracha has to be with a good eye, so what on earth is Balak saying? I know you, Bilam. I'm inviting you to come curse them because I know you can bless. And whatever you bless will be blessed. What do you mean? We just said you can't bless because you have to have a good eye. And who is Bilam? Someone with a bad eye. We have the Pirkei Avot. Pirkei Avot in Perek Hey. Perek Hey, Mishnah, depending on which print, it's either Chav Bet or Chav. And it says over there, I'm sorry, Yud Tet. Kol mish yesh b'yado shel ashat devrim halalu. If you have three things, mitalmidav shel Avraham Avinu, then you're from the student of Abraham. U'shlosha devarim acherim, and three other things, mitalmidav shel Bil'am harasha, then you're the student of Bil'am harasha. What are they? Ayin tova, a good eye. V'ruach nemucha, and a good spirit that's humble. V'nefesh shefala, that you're with the people and you don't try to be all that, which means haughty. Ba'gava mitamadav shel Avraham Avinu. You're from the Talmidim of Avraham Avinu. How does Rashi explain Ayin Tova? She'ein lo kin'a al chaviro. You're not jealous of your friend. The chaviv alav, and you like him. The kevod chaviro, the honor of your friend, ki kevodo, like yourself. So if you like your friend, like yourself, you have an ayin tov, you're from Avraham Avinu, from his students, and as we learned in the Zohar, that's the way you could bless. So first of all, lesson one, if you want to bless your kids, it's got to be from love, and it's got to be with an ayin tov. You have to be very happy with them, you have to be you love their respect, you love all that, and that's how you bless. That's how you get older, you're going to bless your grandkids and people around you, and they come for the bracha because you have what's called an ayin tov. What is an ayin ra? Ayin ra, if you have an evil eye, the ruach gevoa, and your spirit's all the way up there, the nefesh rechava, and your soul is so wide, mitalmidav shel bil'am harasha. You're like the student of the of Bil'am Harasha. And what is Ayin Ra? That it says there, he took his eyes and he looked on the Jewish people and he was jealous. He was jealous. I remember there was one of my neighbors, it was interesting, in Brooklyn stories. Someone, I said this last time, someone got shot. And it was execution style. Long story short, someone came out and was always worried. Didn't look Jewish, it was a Jewish neighborhood. So what are you worried about? What do you care? He goes, no, I moved here because I heard it was safe. I came here because it was safe, and now that this here, I'm very worried. Someone who's jealous. He was jealous. How much was he jealous? He said, I want to die the death of these people, not live like them. I want my outcome to be like them. Bilam, at the end of the Parshat, when they're killing him. He said, Tamot nafshi mot yesharim. My soul should die the dying of the tzaddikim. That means he wants all the good that you get at the end without living it and without working to get it. So that's called Ayin Ra. So now comes Zera Shimshon and asks, if he has Ayin Ra'ah, if he has an evil eye, then what kind of blessings could he do? What is Balak even saying? And why, when he's inviting him, he's telling him, I know that whatever you bless will be blessed, and whatever you'll curse will be cursed. So what really is happening here? So, in the Gemara first says you should learn never to take a bracha from anyone as if it's nothing, like Hashem and Rabbi Yishmael. And then the Gemara talks about, right after that, a couple of lines down, and you should just know, you should be careful because HaKadosh Baruch Hu sometimes will get upset, and if you want to, let's say, go and you don't want to do something, and Hashem say amen, or say something that says amen when he's upset, because it could happen, right? In other words, there is a moment where, so I have to explain this. You can't say Hashem gets angry. Hashem's not a human. Hashem's not, doesn't have an arm and a leg and left and right, up and down. None of that exists by him. What he is saying here is, Kadosh Baruch Hu works with midah keneged midah, like we said in the first Gemara. Midah keneged midah. So if the person comes to Hashem with certain midot, he's keep on sinning, then Hashem's going to come back to him with the same midah. That was the tefillah over there. Please do with your nation with mercy. Now, who cares? Because there is a moment, besides for Hashem will do midah keneged midah, there is a moment in the day where Hashem has this rage of anger, so to speak, and if anyone knows that moment, and they're able to mechavin to that moment, it'll happen. So Balak, knowing this, tells Bilam, I need you to come. But as we're going to see, the Zera Shimshon explains, and we'll see this through the Gemara, Balak was smarter than Bilam, and Balak knew that Hashem will not get angry in these days that he called him. Specifically, that it should not be this disaster. So what does Balak do? Balak tells Bilam, I know that you also bless. What bless? You have Ayin Ra. It never works. So the Zera Shimshon says there is one way, there's a few ways that it can work. Just like there's a time of curse, what about all the other times? The Gemara is going to say that Hashem, the moment is either a 16th of a second or a 4th of a second, depending how you calculate. 1 out of 58,888 shenuyot, the Gemara calculated. That's a really quick second. And the Gemara is going to say there is a time, there is a siman, the rooster that gets on one foot, and he has a crown with the red, and it stays red. But one time it's going to become pale. That's the moment that Hashem gets upset. It's 1/16th of a second. You know how fast that is? Okay, in Disney they did this experiment. They had in a film has frames per second. Not talking about today's stuff. In the olden days, frames per second, 23 frames per second. They used to take a book and you could draw pictures, you could flip it like this, and you can see the characters moving. Because it's a frame per second. Every 23 seconds, they put in a picture of a Coke. Now, your eye saw it, but you didn't see it. Subliminally, you saw it. And this experiment was, what will happen to the people watching? And everyone ran to the concession stand just to get the Coke. They tried this experiment multiple times. They went with popcorn, they went with a certain type, and they kept every frame in every second, one frame out of the 23 frames per second. Film is 23 or 24, and you would see that. 23 per second. This is a 16th of a second. Some say it's 158,888 of a second. You know how fast that is? One person in this world was able to see it, recognize it. Bilam. So he knew when to curse. But Balak knew that there were other times out there. There's a time called Et Ratzon. She Shadzu, we say Derasha. Remember, Yoni, we say Derasha. She Shazo Shad. Et Ratzon, Rahamim, and this. What's Et Ratzon? You'll hear Rabbi Chaimov makes a Kiddushin, and he says, "Guy, this is the Et Ratzon. Everyone now pray." What is Et Ratzon? Bilam knew also when is the Et Ratzon, time of want. And you could ask for something, and you'll get it. There's also something called Sha'at Et Pur'aniyot, time of punishment. He says to him, I know that you bless, and it happened, even though you have Ayin Ra, even though you have evil eye, you're a jealous person. But I know when you bless, it happened. Because you know the timing of Et Ratzon. And even if you had a bad eye, and even if you're a terrible person, if you did it in Et Ratzon, it'll work. Which is why in the Pasuk later on, it says, just let's go to a side of the mountain. We're not going to see the whole nation, but we'll see part of the nation. Why part of the nation? What's Balak doing? If you got this guy to destroy and annihilate the entire nation, just do it. And by the way, nobody asked me this, but I'll ask. If it's such a quick statement, it's such a quick curse, you have to program yourself to be 1/58,888 of a second, or 1/16 or a quarter, depending how you learn it. How many words could you say in that 16th of a second? That's Tosfot's question. Tosfot asks in Berachot, the same question. She'ilmali ke'asti, if I was upset, lo nishtayer. V'im tomar, Tosfot asks, Maya yachol lomar b'sha'at rega. What could he say in that split second? Yesh lomar, Tosfot answers, kalim, destroy them. Annihilate in English. One word. That's it. Just say one word, kalim. He would have said that one word and annihilate the entire nation. But what does Balak do? Balak keeps hunting him. Don't look at the whole nation. Look at this one little bit. Look at the whole thing. Why just a little bit every time? Because he knew that Hashem's not getting upset now. He knew that Bilam cannot destroy them with just one word. And he's saying, I want you to do it in the time, say something in the time of Et Ratzon. And if we could somehow tip the scale in the favor of negative, it'll be Et Ratzon, to punish. It'll be the will, the time of punishment. And this is what really happened, right? At the end of the day, 24,000 were killed out because the people from Midian came, the women came there, and they caused an avirot. And he did it. He was able to do it. But what did he do the whole time? He did partial. Nakenu, let us strike. Why not smite everyone out? Because Balak was a bigger, smarter in this than Bilam. Balak knew, but he just didn't know what times were what. The only person that knew it was Bilam. As the Pasuk says, Yodea Da'at Elyon. He knew the knowledge of the sky. He knew the times. He knew the times. So now, first thing is, so he asks, why does it say anything about a bracha? But he's a bad guy. His bracha doesn't count. Yeah, his bracha could count if he did it in the right times, and I know that. So tell him, invite Bilam, even though I know we're not going to have a chance to curse them out, but I know that he knows when's the time to bless, when's the other Et Ratzon, Et Paraniot. He knows. Tell him to come. That's one. And now that answers why it says Nakenu, let us just give a little bit and not the whole thing. Because he knew it's not possible. Hashem is not allowing that the nation should get cursed. On those days, and that's what the Gemara says here. The Gemara says you should know that I didn't allow. We're going to do the Gemara now. So it says here, and is there possible that Hashem gets angry? Yes. The Tanya. The El Zoem B'chol Yom. Hashem gets angry every day. The Kama Za'amo. How long is his anger? Rega, a moment. Kama Rega. What is a moment? One. Echad B'chameshet Ribui of 500,000. Ushmonat Alavim. So 580. And Ushmonah Me'od Ushmonim Ushmoneh. So 5, 8, comma 888. V'zohi Rega. And that's considered a moment. The end called Beria Yechol Chaver Ota Sha'a Chutz Bilam Rasha. Only Bilam Rasha could figure out that time. There was a rabbi in the time of the Gemara who was very upset with his neighbor, and he said, "You know what? I'm gonna buy this. I'm gonna buy a rooster. I'm gonna stand it in front of me, and I'm gonna stare at it." And by the way, this happens in the first 3 hours of the morning. This is why tefillah is extended from when the sun comes up for the first 3 hours. You look at the Zman of Kriyat Shema and the Zman of Tefillah, you'll see that it goes according to minutes, but we calculate how many minutes are in a day, divide that by 12, and now we know how many minutes is an hour. In the summertime, there's a lot of daylight, so maximum we would, in the Jewish calendar, would be 75 minutes to an hour. So therefore, 10 something, so Zman, everything. And if you go in the winter time where it's about 45 minutes per hour, so it's Zmaniyot, calculate the daylight, small, divided by 12, it comes out to short hours, about 45 minutes. So therefore, the Zman of Tefillah ends much earlier. The only reason in our times is different because we push the hour forward, back, so the numbers are way off. But the truth is, it's that's the way it works. So the first 3 hours, this rabbi stood up all morning, staring at his rooster. I'm going to find the time and I'm going to annihilate my neighbor. And he fell asleep. Nobody could do it. The Gemara says, nobody could do it. There is Perushim that say, by the way, if a person, because of his anger and cursing, and got his neighbor punished, he himself will go to Shemayim, the one who did it, because he's right? And he himself will be punished. Because Hashem doesn't like it when you go and put someone into the Gehenna. You're not supposed to do that. So Hashem saved this rabbi as well. He didn't let him, he fell asleep. But nobody's able to figure out Da'at Elyon. And over here the Gemara says, like in the days of Bilam, if I got angry, not even one shoelace would have remained from the Jewish nation if I would have been upset on those days, because Bilam was waiting. And I didn't allow it. But what did Balak know? Balak knew that Bilam knows also when to bless, even though he's a Rasha. And he knows when to say certain things as not going to destroy everyone, but it could bring punishment. And that's what he did. I don't want to get into the rest of it, but I'll just quickly say, he was jealous on the fact that we kept tzniut, even like we do here. And how Hashem made it that today when you build, they do that. What do they say? They say you can't invade someone else's property, privacy. You can't invade someone's privacy. So they look at your house and they see you got a window here that invades his privacy. You have to put a tree there. You have to do this. There's laws behind everything. He saw that the tents of the Jewish people, their doors were all staggered in a way where nobody saw how the other guy was living. It was in a tzniut way. He got jealous of that, and the opposite of tzniut happened. The women of Midian made him do avodah zarah, and that led to death. That's what Balak's mission was. And Bilam at that point saw that Hashem didn't want him to do anything. So, as you're going to see in the second Drush and the third Drush, Bilam was forced, technically. Yeah. Oh, so one question left was, we know that Sichon took over Moab. He destroyed the city of Heshbon, took it over. He needed Bilam's help for that. They called Bilam, they made their curses, and they took it over. Next was us on the list. It says Sichon. You see the end of Hukat. And over there, it looks like he didn't care anymore. Why you needed Bilam for them and not for us? So Bilam was able to curse over there. What kind of cities were Heshbon? Heshbon was a city that was so fortified, no nation in the world even would have thought of coming to attack them. A fortified city that's so strong, a wall within a wall, hidden. You can't break it, you can't penetrate it. All those old films they show everyone with a battering ram trying to break the walls. You can't break it. There's a wall within another wall, another wall. There's nothing to break. You're wasting time. No wood could go through that. So everyone gave up. Once they got through Sichon took over the city of Heshbon, they said, we don't need any more Bilam. We were able to take care of the hardest thing. You think these Jews have no town, no nothing, that's going to bother us? And so they didn't care. And at that point, they went in and Hashem gave them to our hands, and we killed them out. So we have to realize, and there's a Gemara Megillah about this, don't think because somebody's in the White House that's Jewish, or someone cares about Israel, made the consulate, or whatever it is, oh, we're good, we can just rely on them. Can't rely on anyone except for your own tefillot. So if you're not, chas v'shalom, that could happen. Now, what happened with Bilam finally getting through to go and curse? So he was on his donkey. And when he was on his donkey, and he went through the Kerem, he went through this vineyard. Someone else also went through this vineyard. Noah, after the entire catastrophe of the world destroyed, Noah also went and planted a vineyard. And when he planted a vineyard, the Zohar writes, a shed, a demon, a female demon, Shedah, went over to him and said, by the way, you're very close to my territory. You better be careful with what you do with your vineyard. If you overindulge or use it for the wrong things, you're entering my territory. And he did enter her territory. And all that happened. Cham got cursed, he was castrated, and everything happened. Now comes again the same exact thing. Hashem creates the scenario where Bilam is going through the vineyard. The vineyard means there's a gader mizeh, that's why the Torah writes, there's a side over here and a side over there. What do you mean? Of course it's two sides. It's either this side or that side. Why the pastor's got to say both? And the answer is because the Torah is telling us there is the side of the Satan and there's the side of doing what Hashem wants. If you're going to do what Hashem wants, that's one thing. And he kept going to the side of the Satan. He kept going to the side of the Satan, and therefore Hashem stops them, and the donkey appears. And this donkey starts to talk. And the Zera Shimshon tells us that you should just know that, first of all, a malach of mercy stopped Bilam and begged him to not continue, and if you will continue, only to follow whatever Hashem said, because you're about to do what the Satan does, the Satan wants you to do, and that's not good. And then we see something very interesting. Even though he was a Rasha, Bilam, and even though we could have thought that he was a good guy, but we see in the Pirkei Avot, Rasha completely, there's nothing from him. The donkey was killed out of respect. So no one should go and point and say, that's the donkey. Remember, Bilam, that's the donkey. But there's a deeper level with that. The donkey was, I took a picture of it from a different sefer, and the donkey was actually a she-donkey, a female donkey, and the donkey was also used with Bilam and bestiality. And in order to not, some say the other way around, in order to not embarrass the donkey, he killed the donkey off. And where do we learn this from? From the words where it says there, the otah hechiyeti, and I should have killed you, I should have killed you and left her alive. Those are the words. The otah hechiyeti, I should have killed you and left her alive, meaning the donkey. Meaning, what does that imply? That the donkey was killed. Zera Shimshon goes all on this and says, how dare you kill this donkey? Why? He's the Rasha. We're worried about him being embarrassed. See, he brought the whole Gemara in Sanhedrin, which I'm not going to get into, but it's interesting to point out that he saw the end was coming, Bilam saw the end was coming, and Bilam realized that Hashem was upset with him, and at that point, he already started to talk whatever Hashem wanted him to say. He said it, and although he sounded like a Navi over there, he was a Rasha, he had ulterior intentions. And he said at the end, he gave away his secret, which was what? I want to die, the death of the Yesharim, the death of the straight people. That's what he wanted. So I just want to point out something. What could have stopped Bilam from all these mistakes? The guy knew how to talk to Hashem. The guy knew everything from Shemayim. He knows everything. What was the problem? Problem was even jealousy. So what's the problem there? How do you fix that? So if you go back to the Parshat Hukat, that would be because we have two Parshiyot this week. And in Hukat, there's literally it talks about the learning of Torah, the gift of Torah. It says over there that we traveled from Midbar to Matana to Nachaliel, and Nachaliel to Bamot. The Derasha is we went from wilderness to Matana, to the present. Present as in you gave me a gift. What was the wilderness? Where we received the Torah. One who makes himself available to teach Torah, even as a hefker, as a wilderness. The Gemara says hefker. Why the word hefker? Hefker means ownerless. It means to say you're not looking for. I once asked my Rosh Yeshiva. I said you only learn with the rich guy. So he got very upset at me. He took me to the side. He said I'll learn with you every day. For 2 weeks he was testing me. I wanted to get out of that. But you can't just do that. Pick the guy that has the money and go with him. You can't do that. Someone who teaches Torah like the wilderness, matana, the Torah will be for him given as a gift to him. It's gifted. Once you get the gift, the knowledge of Torah, it becomes nachal el. God gives it to you as an inheritance. It stays with you, stays with your kids. Not just someone who teaches Torah, someone who accepts the Torah and says, don't say when I become rich I'm going to come learn. No, hefker means ownerless. That means not rich, not poor. Don't make a difference. I'm coming to learn Torah, whether or not it's business or pleasure, whatever it is. Doesn't make a difference. Torah, I'm coming. Then it becomes matana, as a present to you, and nachaliel, it becomes your inheritance. But he warns you, umin nachaliel bamot. Once you get the inheritance, your name goes up. You're going to start to look like your nose is up in the air. You have gava. So then Torah writes there that then it's going to be what? It's going to be he's going to push you down. Mibaot Hagai, from Bamot Hagai to the valley. And if you did Teshuvah, it says in Yeshayahu, Kol Gei, every valley, Yinaseh will be lifted. You'll be put back. So there's something very important here. Person that learns Torah, you become acquired the Torah, and the Torah becomes to you as a present, and you end up being someone that's going to inherit it, and it'll be yours. He also writes that when a person I'm just going to go to the punchline because we're running out of time. Why did we give the Torah in the wilderness? Another reason. Not because just you should be like that type of lifestyle when it comes to Torah. It doesn't make a difference on rich or poor, busy or not. You have to dedicate time. But he said something else. And he said, and this is when we're going to get to the punchline right now. He said that if we would have given the Torah on someone's land, gave it to Reuven land, what's going to happen? Whenever we're going to do something, Reuven will always say, Hashem chose me, right? It's my thing. You got to choose me first. So the Gemara says, fine. But why the wilderness? Maybe choose Yerushalayim. Well, Yerushalayim is for Binyamin. No, but there is one Manda Amr in the Gemara that says Yerushalayim was international. Nobody got it. We have a problem. Because one of the reasons that we said was because not only what is the other character of wilderness? Nothing grows. In Yerushalayim, there were things that was planted and grows. There were trees and all that. We want something that's completely free. Why? Because when a person learns Torah properly, Hashem takes away from him the burdens of the world that we live in. That means you want blessing in life. You want blessing in making parnasah. You want blessing in all that. You're learning Torah, like the Torah was given in the wilderness, and there was no distractions there, and there was no responsibilities, no obligations. So too, when you learn Torah, should be like the wilderness, and Hashem will make that for you. Now, when I'm going to be free, I'll come learn. No, to dedicate that time. You dedicate that time, and you put that time into play. Kadosh Baruch Hu does what? He'll start to help you out. What I heard today when they were talking was amazing, because it's literally what we're talking about today. The person put his time and effort in learning, all the blessings open. Especially when we're learning Zera Shimshon. Now, one more thing I want to talk about in learning is that when a person learns Torah, we have a problem. How does Torah work? Torah is going to work with debate and logic. That's 1,000% going to be fights. Hashem says, Hashem oz la'amo yiten, Hashem yevarech et amo b'shalom. When a person learns Torah, oz is Torah, Hashem is going to give you peace. There are other people going to talk about Hashem going to give you abundance, He's going to give you a lot of everything. Someone asked me, we were learning, and someone asked me, so Rabbi, I don't understand. There are a lot of people that learn, they're in Kollel, and they got nothing, pennies. So there's a Mishnah in Pirkei Avot that talks about Ezehu Ashir, who is someone who's an Ashir, who is someone that's rich. Hasameach bechelko. He's happy in the lot that Hashem gave him. The person that lives a life of jealousy is going to end up with the ending of Bilam. He's jealous. It's going to kill him. But a person who's happy with what he has, he's happy. He is able to receive blessings. Only through shalom, through peace and happiness, one person will be able to receive all the blessings. So, if I want to tie the whole thing together, a person that's happy, a person that's able to receive the blessings, is the complete opposite of someone who's jealous and he has the ayin ra. And that person can't give any blessings and nothing good comes out of him. But if the person has the ayin tov, he's from the children of Avraham Avinu, then all the blessings will come to him. And that's really the lesson that we have from Hukat and Balak together. That we now know what was the prevention that could have prevented Bilam if he learned Torah. If he went to Yeshivat Shem Ve'ever, he would have known who Hashem was, he would have been a different person. Respectful. He was the Navi for the rest of the world. So now one of them should say, you didn't give us a Moshe Rabbeinu. He knew more than Moshe when it comes to Shemayim. He knew more than Moshe Rabbeinu. But he chose to live his life that way. When I get older, I'll come into tshuva. Now let me live the way I want, but when I die, mot yesharim. I'll die the way of the tzaddikim. You don't know what's going to be on that end of your life. We learned that last week. Rabbi Lamb talked about it as well. He said, Kohen Gadol for so many years, then went the wrong way. How does that happen? You don't know what will be the end. Never say when I get to that time or when I free up. Doesn't work. You're not. They say if the guy was busy when he wasn't, and he had nothing to be worried about, he will for surely be busy after he has everything, because he has now marbeh nechasav, more stuff, marbeh da'agod, more worries, and he will be less available for Torah. So maybe the will that we continue in the shiur and continue learning, and we'll hopefully, with the blessings that the Torah has for us, we'll be able to see Mashiach Tzidkeinu in Rabbi Yameinu. Amen.